All right, the next four are actually for Joe Biden. The first one is Crooked Joe. Next one is Joe Hayden. Here, can you maybe extend the axes in both directions so we can so we can make some negative values? Next is Richard Blumenthal, who he called Danang Dick. I'd say dangerous in the positive, but definitely at least negative energy to some extent. Governor Jerry Moonbeam Brown. Yeah, but the name sounds too dumb to be dangerous, though. Next is George P. Bush, who he called My Bush. Yeah, we do. We have Jeb Bush, who is called Low Energy Jeb. That already solves one of those. Pete Buttigieg, who was called Alfred E. Newman. Oh, the guy from Mad Magazine.
Yeah, it's the Mad Magazine guy.
Maybe between Danang and Jerry for energy. But I don't know, how dangerous is the Mad Magazine guy? Who's next is Elaine Chow, who is called Coco Chow.
Coco Chow.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, like a fourth level like Yakuza boss.
Yeah, this is the dagger to Mitch McConnell's cloak.
Maybe put low IQ Warhawk at like almost the far end of the danger level.
Yeah.
Next is Chris Christie, who he called Sloppy Chris Christie. Yeah, maybe next to Sloppy Steve. The next four are for Hillary Clinton.
Alright.
The first one is Crazy Hillary. The next is Crooked Hillary, but there is a side note here on the list that says that this name has been retired. Alright, the next one is Lion Hillary. Next is Beautiful Hillary, but this character only came into existence after the 2016 election. Alright, the next five are for James Comey.
Okay.
The first one is Leakin' James Comey. I don't know, they seem more like a sleazeball. Yeah, and if they are like a car salesman, kind of high energy, but compared to like the other people, it would probably put them in the negative. Next is Shady James Comey, which honestly I think should be next to the other two. Next is Slimeball James Comey, which I think should just be the next level up.
It's getting crazier. This is like one of those arcs where he like thinks he defeats him, and then he gets back up, and now he's like has like a red aura around him.
Next is Slippery James Comey, which I think should be underneath all the other ones. Alright, next is Bob Corker, who was called Little Bob Corker. I think in between Mini Mike Bloomberg and Fat Alvin. Alright, next is Ted Cruz, who he called Lion Ted, but this name was also retired, so of course it's probably going to be less powerful. Alright, next is Ron DeSantis, who he called Rob. Next is Ron DeSanctimonious, but this name is also retired. That's like a war priest kind of name. Right under Lion Hillary SSJ2, just above Slimeball James Comey. But I think he would probably be under DeSanctimonious. Like DeSanctus is like the name of like a Legion guy, not a whatever the generals are called. All right, next is Meatball Ron, but this character, we don't know if he actually exists because he was denied by Trump. I would say put him just to the right of maybe even, I don't know if there's space though, somewhere close to Sleepy Joe. Next is Betsy DeVos, who he called Ditzy Davos. Here, let me find my spot again. Al Franken, who he called Al Frankenstein. Next is Nikki Haley, who he called Bird Brain. Really? I'm thinking Bird Brain sounds like the mastermind behind everything, like season 4. Next is Kamala Harris for the next 5. The first is Comrade Kamala.
Who's the final boss? Kamala Harris' final form.
It's Kamabla. It's like when Kamala finally turns into like the big monster at the end.
Yeah. Like.
Should we like start zooming out? Next is Letitia James, who he called Peekaboo. It's another like mob boss kind of character.
Yeah, mob boss.
Next is Jim Justice, who he called Big Jim. Next is James Mattis as Mad Dog. Yeah. But being a side character does, like they're not up there with like Bird Brain.
Yeah. No, Mobessi's right. 1 for 38 sounds like the name of some sort of ancient super weapon that ends up being garbage.
Next is Kevin McCarthy as My Kevin. Maybe just a little bit higher than My Bush. where he put. Next is Cocaine Mitch.
So
All right, next is Evan McMullen, who he called Evan McMuffin. Next is Jerry Nadler, who he called Fat Jerry. Omarosa Newman, who he called Wacky Omarosa. That was apparently like a compliment of a nickname because he's she's his aide. All right, Peter Navarro as My Peter. Next is Gavin Newsom, who he called Governor Newscum. Next is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who he called Evita. This next one's a good one. It's for Jerome Powell, who he called Mr. Too Late. That name still carries some weight, though. Probably not dangerous, but high energy. Next is Jackie Rosen, who he called Wacky Jackie. Probably less dangerous. Next is Rod Rosenstein, who he called Mr. Peepers, though this was denied by Trump. Next is Bernie Sanders, also known as Crazy Bernie. Doesn't feel as strong as the other crazies, though. I don't know, we're starting to lose the space in the county lines for more littles.
I'm gonna put him under Evan McMuffin.
The next is Adam Shit. Next is Watermelon Head.
Jeez.
That's like the partner to Pencil Neck, I think.
Yeah.
All right, the next one actually might be worse. Fake Tears Chuck Schumer. It's not even real tears. I think he should be below Crying Chuck. Next is Jeff Sessions, who also known as Mr. Magoo. These names aren't very nice. But what was the other Mr. Peepers?
Yeah.
I think he's probably, pretty close or lower. Next is Tom Steyer, also known as Weirdo Tom Steyer. Weirdos usually have high energy, but they're not dangerous.
Good call.
Maybe under like to the right of My Peter. All right, next is Tim Waltz, also known as Tampon Tim. I'm thinking, maybe right under the word danger. Yeah, probably like a class clown type. It's Pocahontas. Should we put it anywhere? Maybe make it the same color as the background. All right, next is Maxine Waters, who also known as Low IQ, Maxine Waters. Susie Wiles, who he called Ice Maiden. It's like it's a Dota character. maybe right above Bird Brain. And Bird Brain used to be the best, but now there's so many other better ones now.
All right, so that's it for the domestic leaders.
Bukele, who was known as President B. Are all these characters bad guys, or can they also? Because this kind of sounds like a.
So
it sounds like in a Japanese show what they would call the President of America. Next is Kim Jong-un.
Okay.
Who is known as Rocket Man. All right, Kim Jong-un again as Little Rocket Man. All right, the next one is Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who he called Juan Trump. Next is Scott Morrison, who he called Man of Titanium. Damn. Next we got the media figures. The first is Peter Baker, who he called Little Peter Baker. Can we draw a little like territory boundary for all the littles?
Yeah.
Okay, the next two are for Mika Brzezinski.
Okay.
The first one is Crazy Mika Brzezinski. Her next form is Dumb as a Rock Mika.
Dumb as a Rock Mika is gonna be next to Broken Old Crow and Fake Tears Chuck Schumer. Damn.
Next is Graydon Carter, also known as Dopey Graydon Carter. I think this character is pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Not very energetic though, so maybe in between the two low IQ characters. All right, next is Chris Cuomo, who we called Fredo. It's a character in The Godfather.
Oh.
Maggot Hagerman. Next is Megyn Kelly, who we called Crazy Megan. How many more crazies do we have? Next is Bette Midler, who we called Washed Up Psycho Bette Midler. Next is Michael Moore as Sloppy Michael Moore. I'm thinking very low energy, but probably neutral on danger, maybe under Lion Ted. Next is Joe Scarborough, who has two names. The first is Morning Psycho. Man. His next form is Psycho Joe.
SSJ2 Psycho Joe.
Next is, oh my god, George Stephanopoulos, who he called Little George. I think we know where he's going. George Slapadopoulos.
Alright, who's next?
Okay, alright, next is Jake Tapper as Fake Tapper. He's so good with these. Alright, okay, next one is Chuck Todd as Sleepy Eyes. He's so angry all the time. Alright, so the next one is Katie Tur, who we call Little Katie. I mean, we can probably just churn that one out real quick. Brian Williams as Lion Brian. Maybe probably next to Lion Ted. He's at the bottom of the little zone. Alright, and after that we've got Jeff Zucker, also known as Little Jeff Zucker. Alright, and that's it for our media figures. Now we're discussing the descriptions of groups of people. Yeah, the enemy paramilitary corporations. Different attorneys who he's called the 13 Angry Democrats, and he was using that to describe 17 attorneys actually. Next is the 17 Angry Democrats. Next is Joe Biden and his family, who he called the Biden crime family. Okay, yeah, right, close to like the 17 Angry Democrats. Yeah, people who are not media figures. The first one we have is the rapper Mac Miller, who he called Little Mac Miller. Next is Lord Sugar, who he that's just his
Lord Sugar.
that's just that's just his real name. And he called him Dopey Sugar. There's like an overlap between like a non-existent dopey category and a little category, who he called Jeff Bozo. First of which is Americans for Prosperity, which is a libertarian advocacy group, who he called Americans for No Prosperity. it's so good. Americans for No Prosperity. Yeah, that's like a low power like rebel group. Next to Ada Hutchinson, maybe that little free space. Next is the club. Next is the Club for Growth, which is a conservative organization. He called it the Globalist Club. It's the Globalist Club for No Growth. That's probably close to It's probably close to Americans for No Prosperity. Maybe close to. We kind of have to overlap it. Maybe close to the Hillary power levels. All right, the next one is the Fake News CNN, which honestly I think might be a new high. Fake News CNN it's a very cool name for a news network. Not necessarily like more dangerous, just more energetic than Cocaine Mitch. Next is Low Ratings CNN, which might have to be in the polar opposite direction. All right, now we're on to the Democratic Party. The first one we have is the Communist Left. Next is the Democrat Party, because it's not the Democratic Party. The Lunatic Left. Next is the Radical Left Democrats. The last one is the Radical Left Lunatics. Yeah, this is their like second impact form. And he called it the Lincoln Pervert Project. All right, after that we got Comcast, which he called Concast. All right, that should be it for the organizations. Now we're on to the television programs. The first of which is the talk show Face the Nation. Come on. which he called Deface the Nation. Brother. All right. After that is Meet the Press, which is an NBC talk show. Okay. Yeah. We got he called Meet the Fake Press, and Meet the Depressed. Yeah, that's after television programs. Now we're on to other. So, I think this is his name for himself. This is for Donald Trump, also known as a very stable genius. That is the highest energy thing, I think.